In the northeast corner of Texas, where the Red River forms a rough border with Oklahoma, Fannin County sits quiet most days. Bonham is one of its best-known towns, old by Texas standards, small enough that people recognize vehicles on familiar roads and news travels faster than the wind. On Mother's Day, 2002, Jennifer Harris was 28 years old. She was known across Bonham as the bright red-haired girl with the big laugh, the lovable goofball who could fill a room without trying. She had friends everywhere, the kind of friends most people collect over a lifetime. To her younger sister, Alyssa, Jennifer was the person who smothered her with love. The older sister who seemed unstoppable, full of plans and emotion and hope, even when her life was tangled. That Sunday began like any other day. Jennifer visited a friend named Christy far in the early evening. It got close to 8:00 p.m. and Jennifer said she had to go. She did not say where she was going. She simply left. Jennifer never came home. At first, it was confusion, then worry, then a fear that settled into Jennifer's family like a sickness. The next day, Jennifer's Jeep was found parked down the road from a local music spot. It was there, left on the side of the road like someone had stopped for a moment and never returned. The sight of it raised one sharp question. Why would Jennifer leave her Jeep like that? By then, Jennifer had been missing for 72 hours. Search efforts moved across rural roads and open land, a father driving and driving, looking for signs no parent should ever have to look for. 6 days after Jennifer disappeared, a fisherman on the Red River saw a body in the water. Jennifer's family rushed toward the bridge, toward the cluster of uniforms and vehicles, toward the certainty that the worst thing had happened. Jennifer's father, Jerry Harris, was there, close enough to the water that he felt he could reach the answer with his hands. When Jennifer was recovered, there was no mistaking the humiliation done to her. Her body was completely naked, not a stitch of clothing, not even a sock. She had been disposed of like trash. Time in the river had destroyed evidence and stole clarity. Decomposition was severe. The medical examiner could not determine a specific cause of death. The death was classified as violent homicide, but the family was left with the most painful gap of all. They did not know how she was killed. They did not know what her final hours looked like. They did not know who did it. In Bonham, where gossip spreads like wildfire, Jennifer's death hit like a bomb. She was not a distant stranger. She was the girl people remembered from high school, the girl who played tennis, the cheerleader with the bright eyes and the red hair. A murder like that did not belong in the background of a small town. It belonged at the center of everything. In the days after Jennifer's Jeep was discovered, attention turned toward the two men most connected to her life. Her former boyfriend and business partner, James Hamilton, and her ex-husband, Rob Holman. Both men spoke with investigators early. Both denied seeing Jennifer the night she disappeared. James Hamilton's story came with structure. He said he was with a friend more than an hour away from Bonham at a McDonald's around the time Jennifer disappeared. He took a lie detector test and passed. Rob Holman's story sounded different. He seemed uneasy about one thing right away. He did not have anyone who could place him somewhere specific that night. He said he had gone out to buy beer and visit friends. When the friends were not home, he claimed he drove around alone for 5 hours on the rural roads of Fannin County. Then, under pressure, his story shifted. He talked about seeing a Jeep that night. At first, it sounded vague, like he might have seen something but could not say what. Then it became more direct. He described a location on 898 at a stop sign by a blinking light. He said the Jeep was in front of him, coming from town. The case never locked into a single, provable path. The investigation produced little physical evidence, and what did exist was later swallowed by mishandling. Years passed, and the file became a symbol of how a murder can stay open, not because it is complicated, but because it is broken. Evidence had been stored poorly. Some items were ruined by water. Some were contaminated. Some disappeared entirely. Jennifer's laptop vanished. Clothing believed to be hers, a shirt, bra, and jeans, vanished too. After more than 15 years, the official case file was thin, cluttered with duplicates, missing critical material, and stripped of the kind of hard proof that would bring a killer into court. Jennifer's father never stopped. Neither did her sister Alyssa. Alyssa married a filmmaker named Barry Wernernick years after Jennifer's murder, and once he learned the story, he could not let it go. Barry brought his skills into the search. determined to push the case forward when the system had stalled. Another man became central to the effort, Daryl Parker, a former lieutenant in the Fannin County Sheriff's Office, who later worked as a private investigator, joined Jerry Harris in the long fight. Parker worked for years without charging Jerry anything. He was driven by a strict idea of justice and the promise he made to Jennifer's father. For Parker, the case pointed to Rob Holman. The reason began with history. By high school, they were inseparable. Jennifer adored him. Rob felt like part of the family. Jennifer dreamed bigger than Bonham. She left to go to college 3 hours away. Rob followed, and they married in 1996 in a carefully planned wedding at a beautiful mansion. A year later, Jennifer's mother died of cancer. After that, Jennifer changed. She became more open-minded, more determined, more willing to evolve. In 1999, Jennifer and Rob bought a house in suburban Dallas, but friction grew. Jennifer was moving forward. Rob seemed stuck. Jennifer embraced a more holistic lifestyle and enrolled in massage therapy school. That's where she met James Hamilton. James was new age, touchy-feely, and unlike anyone Jennifer had been with before. Their relationship became complicated. James lived with the mother of his child, and another baby was on the way. Jennifer was still married to Rob. The marriage broke apart. Rob moved back to Bonham. James moved in with Jennifer, and they became partners in a massage and wellness business in suburban Dallas. But Jennifer's feelings for James faded. He wanted to marry her. She refused. Their relationship became rocky, fiery, filled with arguments. By spring 2002, Jennifer's life was unstable. Her divorce was complete. Her relationship was failing. The massage business collapsed. She filed for bankruptcy. Exhaustion settled into her bones, and Jennifer began reaching back toward Rob. She told people she still loved him. She said she wanted him back. She said she told him exactly that, even though Rob now had a new girlfriend. Rob later admitted that even with a girlfriend, he and Jennifer were still having sex. Jennifer was living a split life. James did not know. Then, about 6 weeks before Jennifer disappeared, cousin Susan Bowen saw Jennifer outside her apartment with a moving truck. Jennifer said she was moving to Bonham. To Susan, the reason was obvious. Rob was in Bonham. Susan turned and left. It was the last time she ever saw Jennifer alive. On Mother's Day, the day Jennifer vanished, she called Rob. She asked to see him. Rob refused because he had plans with his girlfriend and Jennifer got upset. It was Mother's Day, and she wanted him to come over. After Jennifer disappeared, Rob agreed to take a polygraph, but it was never administered. He was allowed to go home. In the weeks that followed, another secret surfaced, one that hardened suspicion and lit the town on fire. Jennifer told her best friend Jill Wagner she was pregnant. If Jennifer was pregnant, the next question was inevitable. Who was the father? Jill believed Jennifer said it was Rob's. Rob claimed Jennifer told him she was pregnant and that it was his. Then during the autopsy, something was discovered that turned rumor into obsession. Jennifer's uterus was missing. The discovery fueled a theory that the killer removed it to destroy evidence of pregnancy. In Bonham, where gossip is often taken as truth, the story became a wildfire. People built motives on top of motives and shaped the case into whatever their fear wanted it to be. Later, forensic experts in Dallas concluded the missing uterus and other body parts were destroyed by turtles and fish in the river, not removed by a killer. But the rumors never died. The pregnancy story remained lodged in the center of the case because it was the most believable motive people could grasp, and because it fit too neatly with a life already full of conflict. 8 years after the murder, Daryl Parker decided to push pressure on Rob Holman in a way that felt personal. On Mother's Day, the anniversary of Jennifer's disappearance, Parker went to Rob's house with photographs of Jennifer and Rob together. Among them was one image that mattered more than the rest, a photo of Jennifer swimming in muddy water. Rob stared at that photograph for several seconds. It grabbed him in a way the other photos did not. Parker left his card and told Rob to call if he wanted to talk. Rob called a few hours later. Parker wanted to record the conversation and suggested meeting at the sheriff's office the next day. When Rob arrived, he came with a lawyer, and the moment Parker believed could break the case slipped away. Over time, Parker blamed himself for that. The case remained unsolved. The town's appetite for an answer did not fade. It shifted, turned, and sometimes landed on people who had nothing to do with Jennifer's murder. A year after Jennifer's death, Miles Porter, the district attorney at the time, found himself surrounded by rumors claiming he had been arrested for the murder. The gossip cost him deeply. It stayed attached to his name for years, even without evidence. Meanwhile, Jennifer's family stayed focused on what they believed mattered. They believed Rob Holman was responsible. They could not physically connect him to Jennifer on the night she vanished. They looked for witnesses who could place Jennifer and Rob together. One name surfaced again and again: Rhonda Fitzwater. On a rural road in Fannin County, Rhonda said she saw Jennifer's Jeep that night already parked. She did not see anyone following it. She did not see Jennifer. She insisted that was all she knew. Parker and Barry Wernernick believed there was more to her story. Rhonda insisted there was not. With years passing and no arrest, the case drew new attention in 2016. Mark Johnson, a law enforcement veteran with 32 years behind him, ran for sheriff in Fannin County. On the campaign trail, he met Jerry Harris and made a promise from one father to another. He would continue the investigation into Jennifer's murder. When Mark Johnson took office on January 1, he demanded the Jennifer Harris case be brought to him immediately. He opened the boxes. He saw what was left: a thin file, wet papers, duplicates, missing evidence, a broken trail. It did not get easier. It got heavier. Even as the case remained cold, something inside the community stayed awake. People in the county wanted the case solved. Jennifer had been well loved. Letting a murder linger for that long felt wrong, like a stain the town could not wash out. A group called Riding for Justice began reaching out to people who knew Jennifer Harris. Writers saddled up and gathered, showing that the case had not been forgotten. The community's need for justice became part of the case itself. As the years stretched on, Barry and Alyssa pushed forward with a plan of their own. They began building a docu-series, convinced that telling Jennifer's story could expose what the official investigation missed. Barry worked with Daryl Parker and another investigator, Jim Holloway, examining every lead and every rumor, returning to old locations, trying to find something physical that could finally hold in court. One location became central to Parker's theory: a dirt road near the Red River, where blue marl mud exists on the river floor in only a couple of spots for miles. Jennifer's body had blue mud on the front of her. Parker believed that blue mud placed Jennifer at that location. Not far from that bank, there had once been a caretaker cottage. That cottage burned down on the very night Jennifer Harris disappeared. To Parker, it was not coincidence. He believed Jennifer met her killer there. He believed the cottage was burned to hide evidence. Searches were conducted. Excavations were done around the foundation. A well was drained and dug into. Nothing was found. The years continued to pass. Eventually, a fresh set of eyes entered the case. Joe Mora, a private investigator from Boston, was brought in to study the file and speak to people connected to the investigation. He looked at what remained and saw weakness. He saw a case that had not been built carefully from the start. He questioned how interviews were conducted. He questioned how quickly certain stories were accepted. He questioned the focus that stayed locked on Rob Holman and the assumptions tied to pregnancy rumors. Mora was also surprised that James Hamilton, the ex-boyfriend, seemed to fade from focus despite obvious points of tension. Jennifer and James shared a failed business. Jennifer had covered finances. She put her name on loans. She filed for bankruptcy. Money can create motive, and the collapse of a shared business can turn love into resentment fast. Jerry Harris had made notes that James Hamilton called him 2 months after Jennifer's death to ask about her life insurance policy. It was the kind of detail that sticks. Mora also questioned Hamilton's alibi, not because it was impossible, but because it did not appear fully vetted. He believed the work of verifying alibis had not been thorough enough. In Mora's view, the case was not just cold. It was frozen. Still, one detail in the file caught Mora's attention more than the repeated theories. A woman named Deborah Lambert. A year after Jennifer's murder, Deborah Lambert saw a news report about the unsolved case. She claimed she had seen something on Mother's Day 2002 while driving across the Red River Bridge. She described 3 men and a woman with reddish-brown hair. 2 of the men held the woman by her elbows. The woman looked like she was trying to get away, restrained and pulled forward. Cool. Deborah Lambert made eye contact with the woman and saw terror on her face. Lambert said she did not come forward at the time because she was afraid to get involved. Her story also did not match the timeline investigators believed. She placed what she saw at about 5:50 p.m., while the established timeline had Jennifer leaving Christy Farr's house around 8:00 p.m. The time is often the least reliable part of a witness memory. People do not always check watches. They remember the sun, the drive, the feeling of a moment, and later attach a time that can be wrong. Lambert's account was later re-examined when the Texas Rangers opened their own investigation about a year and a half after Jennifer's murder. Lambert gave the same story again, detailed and consistent. She described what the men wore, jeans and shorts. Then she was shown a photo lineup. She identified one of the men. She identified Rob Holman. That identification should have been a turning point, but the case file did not hold enough detail about how the lineup was conducted to settle questions about how reliable it was. Rob Holman, on the advice of his attorney, declined to speak with the Texas Rangers. After working the case for a year, the Texas Rangers suspended their investigation. Their report concluded that no physical evidence, no specific cause of death, and no credible witnesses linked any particular person as a suspect. Time continued to erase options. Deborah Lambert died. Her mother died as well. No one could go back and ask new questions, test her memory, or clarify details. What remained was her recorded account, still alive even after she was gone. Alyssa and Barry held on to Lambert's story because it suggested something they had never fully considered. More than one person could have been involved. Jennifer's disappearance might not have been a single encounter between two people. It might have been a group. The theory shifted, but the result did not. No one was arrested. Neither James Hamilton nor Rob Holman was charged with any crime related to Jennifer Harris's murder. Attempts were made to contact both men. There was no response from James Hamilton. Rob Holman refused to speak on camera and said he had been advised by his attorney not to talk. Through his attorney, he maintained that he had never been arrested or charged, and that he had maintained his innocence from the beginning. In the absence of an arrest, Barry Wernernick created a new plan. He wanted to raise $50,000 in reward money, believing money could shake loose information that fear and loyalty had kept silent. The idea was simple. Someone out there knew something. Someone had seen something. Someone had stayed quiet. But reward money could not create evidence out of nothing. It could not repair a mishandled file. It could not restore lost items. It could not rewind the Red River and pull back the hours when Jennifer disappeared. Still, Sheriff Mark Johnson refused to give up. He wanted the case solved and done right. Darrell Parker refused to give up. He could not put it down. He had promised Jennifer's father he would get results, and he carried the weight of every year that passed without an answer. For Jerry Harris, the loss never softened. He lived with the same cruel gap every day. He did not know how his daughter was killed. He wanted closure. He wanted justice while he was still alive to see it. For Alyssa, justice for Jennifer became part of her life's purpose. Jennifer was not just a sister she missed. Jennifer was a bright presence torn away and thrown into a river. Jennifer Harris remained the red-haired girl with the big laugh, the Lucille Ball-type goofball who loved hard and lived loud. And on Mother's Day 2002, she left a friend's house around 8:00 p.m., never made it home, and vanished into a night that has never fully given her back.